My guest today is considered a rock star of superfoods and longevity. He's a best-selling author and highly sought-after expert in the field of health, beauty, nutrition, and of course, chocolate. David Wolfe, welcome to Real with Ellie. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing great. And your screen, it just went into freeze for a moment, and now it's good. And you and I have similar hair.
It was actually a lot crazier yesterday. I was just looking at a picture of myself in the woods, and it was like this. So today it's kind of calmed down a little bit.
It's good. I like it. It's nice and raw, which is the R in real with Ellie. So that's good.
Okay, cool.
Yes. So thank you for being here. Of course, I have been touched by your work for many, many years, and I now get a chance to connect with you in this moment. So again, I'm grateful for the opportunity. And I know what we're going to talk about today, especially around your new book, Longevity Now, is going to really inspire many watching. So longevity now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, yeah?
That's right. Yeah, that's all we got is the moment. So that popped in one day. I was trying to name a program I was doing a number of years ago. And I thought, how about longevity now? Because it's not going to be later. It's happening right now. And so it's kind of an oxymoron, which I like.
Yeah, it's very good.
I always have to have a clever name for these books.
So let's start with the most important and serious question of all. You say chocolate is sacred. Why is that?
So chocolate is the most sacred food in the history of the world. And when we think about chocolate, we are now more and more realizing where it comes from. And it's originally from the jungles of Central America and the northern jungles of South America. And in those areas, it was revered so highly. It was the most sacred food of all, the most sacred tree. And that's where it comes from. It's actually a nut. It's a nut that grows on a tree. And it was so revered actually by the Aztecs and the Mixtecs and the Toltecs and the Mayans and the Olmecs that all of those races of people used it as money. It was their currency.
Yeah.
And chocolate is intrinsically valuable. Basically, a cacao bean, raw chocolate. I'm going to see if I have one around. I actually have a piece of one right here. This is a little piece of a cacao bean right here. This is basically like an almond with good looks and money.
Yeah.
That's what cacao is. Cacao is basically an almond with good looks and money. So it's the food that all chocolate is made out of. It's the most celebrated food, and it was the most revered food. But the story about chocolate is very interesting. It's the story of Faust, the alchemist who sells his soul to the devil for fame and fortune. We've all heard that story in many different forms. Johann von Goethe was the first person to really take that legend and put it to paper. Before that, it was an alchemical, mythological story.
Yeah.
But it's very much associated with the story of cacao, where it was the most sacred food, it was most revered. And then basically, there was a deal with the devil, and it was turned into poison. Literally, I mean, 20 years ago, you'd think, oh, chocolate, it's candy. You don't eat that. And then now we've come all the way full circle around again to realize that it really is a sacred food, and the sugar and all the additives and the vegetable oils are not really what chocolate is.
Right. So when chocolate is kept in its authentic form, is it alkaline to the body still?
Well, it's the most alkaline nut in the world because of the extraordinary magnesium content. In scientific circles, chocolate is considered a magnesium supplement, which is really amazing. I started reading all kinds of research journal entries about chocolate, hundreds of them actually, over the years, and they consider chocolate a magnesium supplement.
Yeah.
That's how high it is in magnesium.
Interesting.
And it's really like that also in iron. It's extraordinarily high in magnesium and iron, which are basically, they're alkaline forming. I mean, it's blood building and alkaline forming minerals. And then on top of that, we have an extraordinary high content of vanadium, chromium, zinc, copper, phosphorus.
Yeah. Very good.
So
one more question about chocolate, I promise we'll move on. That is, so when you're actually enjoying real chocolate, it's not supposed to be sweet at all. If it's sweet, it means it's been, messed with?
Well, traditionally and historically in Central America and in the Amazon, they never really sweetened chocolate. It was always consumed as a bitter herb.
Yeah.
And it was coffee. like people like coffee bitter. It's like that. Chocolate, that's its original way of consumption. And it's really actually the best way to do it because the sweetness, starts to make it a little bit too attractive.
Got it.
It makes it irresistible, actually.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So then, yeah, we're being hooked in a different way. Okay.
Absolutely. I have to ask you, Ellie, are you Persian? What's your ethnic
I
background?
am Persian,
I
yes.
can tell, yeah.
Is it the eyebrows or the accent? Which one?
It's the accent. My mom's from Tehran, and all my relatives are from Tehran, so I could tell.
Your mom is from Tehran, really?
My mom's name is Fereshte.
Fantastic. So do you know how to make raw ghormeh sabzi?
Ghormeh sabzi, khoresh, ash,
Very good.
lubia polo. I mean, all of it. I grew up on all that food. Absolutely, yeah.
That's crazy. I never knew that.
We're working on raw. A khamkhar in Persian, it's a raw vegetable eater, a khamgia khari.
Right. You do the kha pretty good, David. It's very good. Oh, that explains the hair and everything.
So it's
fabulous.
getting a little crazier as we go here. I decided I'm not going to get any more haircuts.
So are you now at this point on your path, are you raw food, superfood, or do you do also cooked, vegan, vegetarian, any of that? Do you do animals, do you do GMO? What do you do?
No, I'm basically a raw vegan. I do some vegetarian foods occasionally. If somebody has I'll do if somebody picks wild mushrooms from the forest here, for example.
Yeah.
And cooks them in oil, like an olive oil, my olive oil. I'll taste that. I'll eat some of that because it's local wild food. But I really don't eat cooked food. I don't eat bread or meat or cheese or none of that kind of stuff.
Got it. Now, as far as your idea around, and we might as well get to this because this is the hot topic for many, your idea around not consuming animal products, is it more because of lack of benefits it has to our physiological bodies as human beings, or is it also a spiritual concept or a philosophy you have around that?
Good question. Thank you for that question. For me, it's a spiritual concept, and that's where I'm at. And I'm not really against animal products. I'm more for vegetarian foods. I'm not really against stuff. I'm more for certain things. And I like to give a voice to vegan foods and to raw foods and to superfoods and make that a choice for people. That's really what I'm about, is making more vegetarian choices available for people and in the least processed form, which is raw.
Got it. Got it. And, and if you are consuming animal products, is it important to take a look at where you are receiving that from? For instance, is it true that if an animal is being slaughtered without reverence and love, that vibration is going to get infused into that product, and then you're going to consume that, and that's going to become a part of your cellular biology?
That's the idea. The best phrase I ever picked up on this is it's out of the Upanishads, which is great Vedic manuscript. And in the Upanishads it says this: the subtle energy of your food becomes your mind.
Yes.
That's really, I've always been trying to figure out, okay, you are what you eat. Let's see if we can put a little bit more specific. What do you mean by you are what you eat? And that's the best phrase that I've ever seen. The subtle energy of your food becomes your mind.
Yeah, that is so true, and that is so deep.
Deep.
I feel like just contemplating on that statement when you are making choices can really make a world of difference as to whether you're going to live a conscious life or not.
And we have to make that choice now. In the old days, we could rely on a healthy food supply because it was so local, it was homegrown, it was community grown. We can't rely on that anymore. We're in the age of mass production, industrialized food, so you can't rely that the government is going to make it safe for you, or that because the store it's safe. You actually have to take that responsibility in your own hands now and be very, very conscious about what you consume, because there's so much toxicity in the environment. 77,000 chemicals, according to my count, that we've introduced to the environment since 1940. That's a lot of synthetic chemicals in the environment and toxic minerals and problematic compounds.
And in your new book, you talk about all of these unwanted guests being one of the reasons for calcification. And so is calcification a form of inflammation that then causes a lot of joint pain and discomfort?
Yes, it's causative of inflammation. Basically, my understanding of calcification is twofold. One is that calcification is very similar to basically having too much oxidation, too much free radical damage, a lack of antioxidants, a lack of free electricity. Like, for example, when you walk on the earth or swim in the ocean, you get free electricity for your body.
Yeah.
And if we're cut off from that, like we're in shoes all the time, we're in houses all the time, we're not connected to the earth energies, that decreases the amount of free electricity we have available to us. And over 100 years, we get calcified. That's what happens to us. And there's another aspect of this calcification, which is what you were kind of alluding to, and that is it's an infection. These like rheumatoid arthritis is definitely an infection.
Yeah.
At this point, it's conclusive.
So I'd like to definitely go deeper on that in just a moment. Yet it feels like, speaking of calcification, when it comes to making better choices with our food, it feels like many of us are mentally calcified. You know, it's like the thought of perhaps considering becoming a vegetarian or vegan or raw food. It's like taking a gun and shooting someone in the head. That's how they feel about it. Why are we so rigid when it comes to changing the way we eat?
Well, I think it's a community. We live in a community-based social world, and we are going to do what our neighbor's going to do. We're going to do what our favorite celebrities are going to do. We're going to do what our idols do. We're going to do what our favorite people do. We're social in nature. Can't be avoided. Now, that's been my work for 20 years, working with that particular aspect of human psychology. So what we've gone around the world doing is making it easier for everybody to do it, which makes it easier for everybody else, right? If there's more raw food restaurants, more vegetarian restaurants, more vegan restaurants, more choices of raw food, more choices of superfoods, more information and education as to how to do it all, it's going to make it easier for everybody.
Yeah.
Because we're social in nature. And after 20 years, now it's starting to have an effect. Now we're starting to see a big change. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. And of course, I feel like one of the facilitators in this whole process and in the change would be the way we look at how much we spend on our food. You know, the mindset of getting strawberries for 50 cents less at a big supermarket when they're not organic and getting them for 50 cents more at your local market. You know, that whole mindset, it's such a mindset of lack. And then we expect to live long, you know, lives of longevity and fulfillment with that.
You're touching a very interesting point, which is where our values are. Our values are changing, but our values from our old way of life was, let me save 50 cents here on the strawberries. But really, you know, then we would go out that night with friends and spend $60 on drinks without even thinking about it. Just like that, gone. And we're coming out of that mindset of, you know, trying to let's just see if we can get them down 50 more cents on the lettuce or tomatoes or whatever. And we're coming more to, let's put our money where our mouth is.
Yeah.
As that old phrase goes, put your money where your mouth is. Very interesting phrase.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I just gave it a whole new context when you just said that in this conversation. Are there, speaking of spending money on drinks, are there any types of drinks that are longevity supporters?
Absolutely. I had the most amazing drink today, and one of my favorite things to have in the autumn here is the local fresh juices from the great trees that we have out here. For example, I've got apples and pears out here that for myself with my own hand, and the juices of those drinks in my favorite cup here is really, to me, it's like sweet delight. It is really one of the great things I'd love to turn other people onto, especially kids, you know, to give them that experience. But I've got all kinds of things we're doing on television and all kinds of things that we're doing on YouTube where we're showing people how to make interesting recipes with their blender or even to upgrade their blender.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, to maybe a NutriBullet blender. And that's really a lot of fun. And those are based on, those are drinks that are based, there's two different types. There's basically the chocolate-based drinks.
Right.
And then everything else.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
got it.
Yeah, and I like the chocolate-based drinks because that's really fun for me. I love putting that education out there, and that's how chocolate was consumed for all those thousands of years in the Amazon and in Central America. It was always a drink. The chocolate bar was invented in Massachusetts in 1828.
Ah, so basically putting some cacao beans in your blender and adding it to a drink that you're creating.
Exactly.
Okay, fantastic. Now, I so appreciate that, and I'm enthused about the different types of drinks. What I was really asking was there any types of alcoholic drinks that can actually not be detrimental to your longevity?
I've been doing a lot of research. I'm wondering if I have a bottle around here. It's down over there on the floor. I've been doing a lot of research on certain phenols like resveratrol and xanthocumol, working with scientists in this area as well, because of the anti-aging power of these compounds. And resveratrol was most well known for its role in the anti-aging effects of dark port phenolic wines, like Pinot Noir, the more darker wines, which have been noted to have anti-aging effects for hundreds of years. And what's interesting about resveratrol is it's not water soluble. So if you eat grapes. I love grapes. I'm a grape fanatic. I think the Persians love their grapes.
Yeah.
But you don't get resveratrol from that. But you do get it if it's actually alcoholic, because resveratrol is alcohol soluble.
Got it. And is it important to actually look that when you're purchasing a bottle of wine for the purposes of longevity? Is it important that you look that it says sulfite free?
Yes, sulfite free, organic, and you want to go for, if you can find, there's a few companies out there, a few like wineries that are actually putting the resveratrol content of their wine on the bottle. So that's something you want to look for as well. And again, if it doesn't have that, you go for a Pinot Noir or something even darker, like a port wine. I'm not really, I can't really drink alcohol. I can maybe drink one glass of champagne is about as far as I can go. But I found that if I can get old world wines, like the way it was done in Persia and the way it was done in Greece, the way it's still done in Turkey and Cyprus today, if I can get an old world port, I can actually drink that a little bit because it's real fruity and syrupy.
Yeah.
It tastes like raisins.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary resveratrol, and that's something that's of interest to me.
Speaking of Persian gems, is saffron a superfood?
Saffron's amazing. Saffron. Well, let's just tell you about the chemistry of saffron. Saffrol, isosaffrol are very, very powerful compounds in nature, and they actually create a feeling ecstatic, and in fact they're psychoactive. And if you take those and you chemically tweak them a couple steps, you have the drug ecstasy.
Really?
Just so you're aware of it. Yeah, the drug ecstasy. Everybody's doing ecstasy at these parties and all this kind of stuff. It's used primarily even today as a relationship counseling drug in many countries. It's illegal in the U.S., but legal in other countries. And it's made out of isosaffrol.
Got it. Fantastic. So the next thing, you talk about special Earth's energy field. Is this what you just meant by swimming in the ocean and not wearing shoes all the time, walking on the sand and so forth?
That's right. And there's something that you can immediately detect. And I'd recommend that you try this out. Probably you've already experienced this and are just going to know what I'm saying. And that is, let's say you're going through some kind of emotional turmoil, or you've been working really hard all day, in particular in front of the computer, and you go run down to the beach and you jump in the ocean.
Yeah.
Immediately, everything's gone. Immediately, all of the emotional turmoil is gone. All the work stress, everything's gone. There is an actual reason for that. That's electromagnetic. And that is the Earth is surrounded and shielded by negatively charged electricity. And this is extremely prevalent and available in the ocean, because the ocean is salty. So it's conductive.
Yeah.
And so when you jump in the ocean, clears you electromagnetically, immediately, instantly. And so all of that electromagnetic stuff that's going on up here is gone, just like that. And that's a very important principle that has now been researched in a dozen university studies, all peer-reviewed. And it's indicating that our separation from the ocean, from the Earth, through shoes, through walking on carpets, through being on wooden floors in high-story buildings. It's having a very detrimental effect on our neurological and our immunological health.
Ah, so if you're living in a city, like let's just say there isn't water or dirt around, and you're really living in, I don't know, Brooklyn 100 years from now, how would you get, how would you get your special Earth's energy field?
I will show you what I have here under my feet. This is a grounding pad right here. It's a universal mat.
Okay.
And this is connected. You know how we have 3 prongs on a plug?
Yes.
You know, like any electrical plug has 3 prongs?
Yes.
The third one is the bottom one is a grounding plug. And so this building that I'm in right now, my house, is actually grounded properly. So I just take the end of this cord right here and I plug it into that third prong. And then I have an electromagnetic earth surface right here that when I touch it, that field comes into me, pushes the EMF field off of me from this computer and from all the other appliances that are around. And this is something I show on the internet in numerous videos. I can show you on an oscilloscope, on a voltmeter, when you're electromagnetically connected to the earth, which I am by touching that mat, then the EMF from this computer is decreased by 100 times. That's pretty profound.
Fantastic. I would like one. Where do I purchase that?
That is, you can get those at Longevity Warehouse, and you click on earthing. And you can also, when you get to that site, just click on videos and look at the earthing video so you can see how this works. Because I take you through numerous videos where we have oscilloscopes and voltmeters so you can see the actual waveform and what's decreased and what happens when you're on a computer. Because most people are not aware, when you're on a computer, like even being near a computer or being near a blank or an appliance or even near a wall with electrical wires in it, you're being affected by that. And it's a pretty profound amount of electricity. Even if I'm near a wall with electrical wires in it, I'm getting 1 volt of electricity just standing next to that wall, at least, sometimes more.
So the fact that I'm sitting in a studio right now with several cameras, lights, computers, I'm basically being electrocuted to death.
I can tell you right now, because I've done that a lot, what you're doing right now, and I've measured the amount of electricity that's hitting you. It's probably 2 or 3 volts.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go to Longevity Warehouse.
Anything. Even if you're not touching anything. It's just, it's a feel.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about detoxification, of course, on an energetic level, and let's begin with mercury first. So for many people who've had mercury fillings, and even if they understand, okay, this is not good for me, and they take the mercury out of their teeth, do you ever really completely detox? Do you ever completely release that mercury, even if you take it out of your teeth? Because it's oozed into your cells by now.
Yeah, there's some interesting research that's been done, a lot of it on animals, and it's been shown how mercury amalgam fillings in animals will lodge in the kidneys, the liver, the intestines, and we'll actually sequester it. We'll hold it in our body. Can we completely detoxify that after a lifetime of mercury amalgam fillings? I don't know. I mean, nobody really knows the answer to that question. We can get ourselves to a level of mercury toxicity that's low enough that it doesn't really interfere with our day-to-day neurological function and our day-to-day health. But to completely eliminate it from our biology is probably pretty difficult.
Got it. Yeah. Do you have a David Wolfe philosophy around vaccinations?
Yes, I do. I come from a family of medical doctors. You know, my mom came from Tehran. She met my dad in medical school, and I grew up on the East Coast of America, inside that world. Vaccinations, doctors, hospitals, the whole thing. And I'm totally against vaccinations. There's a number of problems. One is a lot of vaccinations are contaminated.
Yeah.
And they're contaminated with SV40 virus, simian 40 virus.
Yeah.
They used to use thimerosal. Some vaccines still use thimerosal, which is a mercury-containing compound. There are at least 40 ingredients that have been used in vaccines that are of questionable danger. And, you know, why should there be any? There shouldn't be any. And then we get into homeopathics and using homeopathics instead of vaccines. Much safer, way safer for kids. Then in the work that I do, I have met 100 parents, at least with children, with their kids who are injured by vaccines.
Yeah.
At least, maybe more, probably more over the 20 years I've been out on the road, probably more. And so I'm seeing the other side of it when somebody's injured by a vaccine, which is, to me, just unconscionable in this day and age. It just should not be happening.
Yeah. And, for parents who are afraid to not vaccinate their children, it's almost like, you need to raise your immunity around the fear that's being projected onto you by a world that wants to control us. And I haven't vaccinated. One of my children is biological, so no vaccination. The other one is adopted. By the time we got him, he had been vaccinated, but no more. Okay, so now as far as super immunity, so is super immunity connected to superfoods or much more than that?
It's much more than that. Superfoods get us to the idea of having really powerful, nutritious food that is really our birthright. And instead of having, for example, rice, the Persians love rice, right? Yeah. The quality of rice we could take it to a superfood level, like the black Canadian wild rice that I'm actually gonna have for dinner, and it's not cooked, it's soaked and sprouted. It's being mixed right now with garlic and onions and olive oil and all kinds of amazing things. A friend of mine's making amazing dinner right now. And that kind of a thing, that has really powerful longevity qualities and real high density of nutrition and a high level of vigor and vitality. So we can take whatever we're doing and we can move it to the superfood level. Let's say, for example, you like strawberries. Let's go to the most powerful superfood berries on the planet, like blueberry, goji berry, schizandra berry. We can just take whatever we're doing, we can up that quality to incredible levels today. And superfoods to me represent where all diets headed anyway, which is more nutrition, less food, more beauty, less stuff to have to process through our body.
Yeah,
right?
And what kind of rice was it? Did you say you were cooking? What kind of rice? I'm not sure I heard the name of it.
It's Canadian wild rice. It's black rice. It's the long grain black rice that's wild in this area here, actually where I live. And we're not cooking it. We actually just soaked it in water for 3 days.
The next statement I should say is you're cooking dinner, eh?
Yeah,
the Canadian combination. Yeah. How about quinoa? Is that a good thing? I've fallen in love with quinoa.
I think quinoa is great. I'm a big fan of it. It really has to be cooked. It's a food that needs to be cooked. But okay. Let me tell you a little bit about how far into quinoa I am. And I go to Peru every year. And quinoa is in the goosefoot family. It's a chenopodium for anybody who's a student of botany out there. And the chenopodium is unique in the world in that it is one of the few types of plants in the world that can grow in a completely sterilized soil. Yeah. It is a true pioneer. It is a true survivor, and it imparts those qualities to you. And that's why those people who eat quinoa up in the Andes, they have children in their 50s. I have a very good friend who had a baby at 51. And she's a Caro Native American Indian who lives in the Andes. And she's 58 now. She's got a 7-year-old. Just think about that.
Very good. I have a question. It's a personal question. There is a health food store where I work, and fantastic health food store. And then I often purchase quinoa, cooked quinoa, from them for lunch. However, they mix some corn in there. And I always feel like you're messing with my quinoa because I'm not sure if we can find any corn in North America that's not GMO manipulated. So can we find any corn left that's not Nestle?
Right about that.
What's that?
Not really. Most of it is genetically modified. It's about 90% or more GMO today in America, in North America, not just the United States, also Canada. And it's really tragic because corn is one of the great foods in the world. But the kind of corn that I'm into is like the purple corn and the blue corn and the exotic corn of South America. Some of those giant corns in South America are really something very special.
Yeah, very good. I'm so happy you said that. Okay, I'll look for that. I've had to, from a space of reverence and love, say goodbye to a planetary food such as corn, because you have become distorted. Okay. All right. So now, if you're in a relationship, and your husband or your wife is not yet in the mindset of longevity, they're more in the mindset of consumption and survival, how would you deal with that? Do you try to change your family's mindset? As a woman who's watching, I'm sure many women have that. I'm grateful that my family is very much into health and longevity. Yeah, what do you do? Do you try to change your family's mindset, or do you just say, I'm going to accept the way you are, and I'm going to love you, and I'm going to just choose differently for me? So, you have a horse or whatever, a cow, while I'm having kale. Is that, how would you go about that?
The latter is how you go about that. What you said towards the end there, which is you have to change yourself. You can't change other people. You have to be very careful in how you approach your family about these issues. Food is a very deep cultural issue. It's a big social issue, and it's an emotional issue. And you have to just work on yourself. Do not try to change anybody. Don't try to force anything on anybody else. It will happen naturally over the years. You can imagine 25 years ago, I'm telling my mom I'm not going to eat bread anymore. I've been gluten-free for 25 years. Now imagine 25 years ago, gluten-free, I've never heard of that. I mean, my mom thought I was completely crazy. Everybody, I said I'm not eating cheese anymore. Everybody thought I was completely nuts. I was excommunicated from the family.
Yeah.
And when I went raw, you can imagine when I'm trying to tell my mom I'm drinking wheatgrass. What happened at that point? My mom's Persian. You know what that means. She, what do you mean you're going to eat? You're going to drink grass juice? Are you kidding? And
boy, David, what's wrong with you? Oh my God, my son, David.
I don't believe this. I can't believe you don't love me. Can't believe you don't want my food. You don't love me. It was like very intense. And
yeah, that's it. So now one of the things I wanted to ask you was that it seems to me, and I certainly could be wrong, it seems to me that so many amazing teachers like yourself who are leading the way and pioneering this next level of mindset and health, there's so many out there, yet it feels like I'm not seeing a collaboration between them. I would feel like it would be so much more powerful as far as changing the consciousness of humanity if all of these incredible masters of health were kind of like creating an industry together in addition to expressing their individual essence.
Well, I see it differently. I see new industries growing here. I see the inside of the trade, the organic food trade. I see what happens at the big trade shows that we go to. There is a very interesting group of companies. We're probably about 18 of us now that we do very much ally ourselves with each other. And we have made very big changes. For example, in certain chains like Whole Foods, we've a few of my friends and their companies have made it into Costco, have made it into Walmart. We are working together at some level. We could work more together. And my friend Joshua, who runs the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, he's constantly calling me and saying, "Hey, look, all the other big guys who are running the planet, they all work together. Can we work together more?
Yes.
What do you think?" And I just love that about Joshua and Institute of Integrative Nutrition, that he's in that mindset, wanting to work together. And we call it a caucus. When everybody gets together and we have a caucus, we all share ideas and decide what we're going to do for the future and how we can help each other. It's brilliant. And it's happening. It's like anything else, it's a step-by-step process.
Fantastic. Very good. Thank you for sharing that. Vitamin D, many of us are deficient in it, correct? So does it mean I get out there in the sun putting sunblock lotion on my face, or don't I? Do I get wrinkles or vitamin D, or which is a myth?
Yeah, well, it's a quandary, isn't it? It's a balance. A good friend of mine has, he's probably, I got to call him today. He's probably going to die today. He had a very serious melanoma. He's been battling it for years. He did everything possible to save his life, and he's done very good. Most people don't even make it 6 months with that kind of condition. He's been going for years and years, but he's going to finally get him. And he grew up as a Southern California surfer, and there's the sun exposure and all of that. And I have to think, the sun is really good for you, but it's also can be bad for you. and you need to have that appropriate balance. So I don't nearly do as much sun as I used to when I was younger. Vitamin D3 takes about 48 hours to absorb. So if you go out and get sun on your skin, and then you go wash yourself with harsh soaps, for example, you can wash it off of you. You may not absorb it. If you're using lotions, for example, and you don't even form the vitamin D3, you may not absorb the D3, or you might absorb the things that are in there with the lotions, which may not be the best things ever. It's a quandary, right? The sun is like oxygen. Oxygen we need to survive. Oxygen is free radicals. It also kills us. So we have to. This is the thing about being a human on this planet. We have to balance out these forces.
Yes.
And be clever.
Yeah. So what is a day?
Just on that point with.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, I was just going to say, if we're going to, one of the ways we can be clever is that these color pigments that are in our foods, in particular in berries, that are present in grapes, that are present in green leafy vegetables, that are present in beets or beetroot, the color pigments that are present in chlorella, the color pigments that are present in spirulina, the blue pigments, for example, can protect us. And it's basically like anchors us against the oxidation and gravitation and the sun energy, which pushes down on us. We need something to hold ballast against it or to anchor against it. So that's part of the idea. That's the fundamental idea of antioxidant nutrition, is that you're balancing all of those things that could hurt you, like oxygen and the sun, and you're modulating so that they're more friendly to you. You have more inner protection.
Fantastic. Yes. So do you feel like when we are not feeling good, we should be taking a look at, of course, many things, such as what am I thinking, and am I connected to myself and something bigger than me? Yet is it also what did I eat in the past 24 hours that's secreting the wrong hormones in my body right now?
That's it. It also cleansing your bowels. A lot of times we don't feel good because our bowels are congested, or we're constipated, or we haven't completely eliminated the meal that we had a day or even 2 days ago. So I do bring this in because constipation is an epidemic.
Yeah.
No one ever really wants to talk about it, but in order to feel really good, your bowels have to be clean, and you have to actually have enough bowel movements. In fact, you have to have more bowel movements each day than you have meals each day, which is, it's important to say that, because that's the real truth. If you want to lose weight, you've got to have more bowel movements than food that you're eating. Just to put,
so if you're eating 3 times a day, you should be pooping 4 times a day?
That's right.
Really?
Oh, yeah, really. And again, from being in a doctor's office growing up, in that environment, and being around people who wouldn't have a bowel movement for 2 or 3 weeks, and they're sick, and they're seeing my dad, and it's like, look, just do an enema, do a colonic. You got to get that stuff moving, because that can be a real foundational problem that can create all kinds of ill health and even advanced diseases later.
Wow. So literally, if you're eating 3 times a day and going to the restroom less times than that, then you have to think about facilitating your processing ability. And how do you do that?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I like to do, and I'm a big fan, I just got some of these in the mail today. This is one of my favorite enzyme products. That's Digest Gold. It's an enzyme product. And this is something I take with food. And I take it in between food. But one of the things that it does, it has very far-acting and far-reaching things, including helping to digest our food, but it's also a laxative. These enzymes are good laxatives, and so they keep things moving. Yeah. What a beautiful thing. So I don't just take something because it does one thing. I usually take something because it does 10 things that are all good. And over the years, 20 years as a professional in the nutrition industry, 30 years as a hobby, enzyme supplements is one of those things that I just have found is just really is good for me. And if I do 5, 10, 15, 20 of those a day, I'm feeling good because I'm clean on the inside and I have energy.
You said 5, 10, 15, 20 of those a day?
Enzyme, yeah. Yep.
Wow. So is this idea that if you're actually taking a lot of enzymes, then your body's ability to be enzymatic itself will become lazy? That's not true?
It's not true. No, it's not true. And enzymes work on numerous ways beyond just digestive. There's all kinds of enzymatic reactions that are going on in your body right now. And the more enzymes you have in your system, for example, from your food, honey is a great source of enzymes, for example, the easier you make it on your overall metabolism. Out of the top 4 longevity foods in the world, which are chocolate, honey, olive oil, and red wine, those are the top 4. The longest lived people, those are the 4 things that show up. But notice that honey is in that list. And I have to believe in all my years of research that the reason for that is because honey has so many enzymes in it. That has to be the reason why it's associated with longevity.
And is it supposed to be black honey, raw honey? What type of honey do you get when you go to purchase?
The darker the better. The darker the better. The wilder the better. Of course, it has to be raw, unheated.
Got it. Fantastic. And do we replace regular salts with sea salt and Himalayan and just go with that at all times?
Yes, we call that the salt switch, right? So you got to do the salt switch over. I'm a big fan of water and salt as the primary medicine for every condition. I think it's my Persian background. I really do. Because that's actually old Persian wisdom that if you're sick, you don't know what to do, you're dehydrated, you're ill, you have a cold, you have a flu, warm salt water.
You know, you just made me remember that when I was in Iran, which was I left when I was almost 18. You just made me remember that. Anytime any of my cousins or aunts weren't feeling good, oh, my blood pressure is low, I'm not feeling good, I have a headache, oh, salt water. And they would just drink that. Yeah.
They drink that. Yeah. And so, the Persians have been around just as long as the Chinese, 5,000 years. They figured something out. And this is one of the great fundamental aspects of water, which is if you're going to be hydrated, if you drink too much water, you'll become dehydrated. You can't hold it onto you. The salt holds it onto you. Of course, it has to be the right kind of salt.
Yeah.
The wrong kind of salt is as bad as the wrong kind of food, and the right kind of salt is as good as the best kind of food.
Fantastic. So you also talk about in the Longevity Now book about blocked energy and how we have to actually remove and release blocked energy. So in your understanding, what is the source of blocked energy?
Ooh, that's a big question. I'm a believer in that we are a spiritual being having a physical experience, and I think some of that blocked energy, it's a karma that's part of our soul incarnation. That's what I think is part of it, and we have to work through that in our lifetime. I think there are blocked energies that we accumulate from our environment. It could be the way that people have spoken about us or to us when we were younger, the way that we were trained by or educated by our parents. That may have had an effect on blockages that we have, psychological and social blockages. There's also the toxins in our environment and how that can affect, disturb our cognition, our immune system, our brain. There's many different things that can happen in that realm. So it depends on, the answer to your question depends on which area we're going to look. But I think the fundamental area is spiritual, that the blockages that we're dealing with that are very at the core are things that we have to work through at a soul level as part of our soul evolution here on the planet.
And you're feeling that some of the ways you say, such as massage and deep tissue massage and yoga, are going to assist in releasing blocked energy. Is it because you're literally getting to the muscle fibers that may be holding some density, and then you're literally being facilitating and being a catalyst for it just becoming energy in motion?
Absolutely. You said it exactly right. This is the teachings of the Maoris, my very good friends from the Maori civilization, the Polynesian race that has sailed all the oceans. They sailed around the world long before Magellan. And their traditional healing work is exactly what you said, is that we hold energies in our tissues. And what's interesting about their approach is, where they say we hold most of the problems? No. In our calves.
Huh?
And in our calves, right? Just under our knees, because gravity is pushing those toxins all those years of our life down, and all of it's settles and all the toxicity settles into our lower extremities between our knees and our ankles down there in our calves. And so I have seen the work that they do of breaking up the emotional toxicity that can settle into our calves, and it is something else. I mean, it is, when you see 100 people that have been working on, and they're rolling through the belly of their muscle of the calf, and you see how intense that is for people to deal with, and the intense pain that goes on, it really does make you wonder. And I think it's made me wonder that they're on track. I think they are. I think that the muscles in our legs, especially our calves, are a big area and big problem. And then another area is right here in our jaw. That's my feeling too, is the jaw is also a big area of a lot of tension and troubles and a lot of emotional turmoil. We drip, it's all in here, and with dental problems and also TMJ as a result of that type of toxicity.
Yeah, very good. Good information. Thank you for that. So here's my final question. Do you live your life as this passionate alchemist, always looking for a new potion?
Well, I'm always looking for what the universe is saying. My way, I'm always paying attention. I don't really necessarily look anymore. It just comes to me. If the right thing is meant to be there, it'll come. And I've got to pay attention to what's showing up for me. And it's always different. One of the things that has shown up in the last 5 years is a whole lot of information about preserving hormonal health. And that's a big part of my Longevity Now book as well, is preserving hormonal health as we go into the future because of the pressure of environmental toxins that mimic our estrogen metabolism, that can influence our estrogen metabolism and actually can trigger off reproductive cancers and other problems. So, for example, like I've got my little things over here, how to deal with that, my little concentrates of broccoli, and some of the things I found out, my xanthohumol hops X factor for keeping the good hormones on that side and keeping the bad hormones on that side. And there's just a whole lot of stuff that we could go into for hours, but I'd recommend just reading the book because it summarizes it better and more succinctly than any book that's ever been written on that subject, because my experience with the amazing doctors I've been working with has kind of brought it to real specificity. Like, what do you eat? What do you do? What's the strategy? What happens to us? What's the cause of breast cancer? What's the cause of prostate cancer? That stuff's been figured out a long time ago. It's been worked out, and now what to do about it. So that's really what's in the Longevity Now book, is all that, which we can get into if you want to. I'd love to talk about a little bit.
Yes, please, go ahead. So that wasn't my last question. I lied.
Okay. One of the most important things to consider is methylation. One of the great things about raw foods, and especially fresh vegetable juices like green juices, and in particular beetroot juice, is that it's a huge resource of methyl groups. Methyl groups are little sticky compounds. They're carbohydrate compounds that is the first detoxification tool used by your liver in order to detoxify, for example, harmful estrogens. Now, as we age, we accumulate these toxic estrogens. And once we reach a certain age, it's happening younger and younger now because of the fake estrogens in the environment, a lot of phytoestrogenic foods like soy, which is really not a good idea to put into the population. We reach a certain threshold, and then that's triggering cells to grow because it's a hormone. It's signaling cells like, hey, time to grow, keep growing, keep growing. And it may be an inappropriate time for those cells to grow, because when you're 13, you may want your breast cells to grow, but when you're 65, you don't want those breast cells to grow because there may be some toxic cells there, mutated cells. Next thing you know, we can trigger off a breast cancer. So the methylation process that I just described is the first step in helping our liver to deal with toxic estrogen. So again, I'm going to just cut it right down to the most important food. Beetroot juice. Beetroot juice. And also B vitamins, in particular vitamin B6 and B9, because they're methyl donors. They donate methyl groups. The next category is what we call bad estrogen dissolvers. And by far the most important thing there that's ever been discovered is indole 3-carbinol and DIM. And those are concentrates made out of broccoli. They can be made out of cauliflower as well and other cruciferous vegetables. And they metabolically help your body form an enzyme or a series of enzymes that break down those harmful estrogens. Those enzymes are called hydroxylase enzymes, and they eat up, they bring down those toxic estrogens in your system, and they can actually, if you're using this approach cleverly and correctly, within 30 days you can be dropped out of danger of breast cancer.
Wow. And so you incorporate those once a day? You incorporate that once a day, what you just shared? As far as the B vitamins and the beetroot?
Yes, once a day.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I'm just getting that in. I've added that to my protocol, so I'm adding that stuff in because it works, and it's important, very important stuff. And then there's the whole thing about olive oil and what's been discovered about red wine. And then I mentioned the xanthohumol, the hops X factor, and quercetin, which is one of the main ingredients in all raw and fresh foods. And these compounds have a very strong ability to keep the good hormones over there and the bad hormones over there. Because what can happen is with reproductive cancers is the good hormone flips over and becomes a bad hormone. And that's very dangerous. And that's what causes breast cancers to get out of control and prostate cancers to get out of control or to metastasize. And so that's called natural aromatase inhibition. Natural aromatase inhibition. And there are foods and nutrients that block that aromatization, that they get you out of the danger zone. And it's interesting that two of them are some of the most longevity foods in the world. Red wine and the phenolic wines are resveratrol, and then olive oil, right? And it's got to be obviously quality olive oil. And in fact, I take, in addition to olive oil, I also take olive leaf extract. That's on my olive leaf extract right there, because it has a concentrate of what's in olive oil, which is that thing that blocks that bad stuff or the good stuff from flipping over, becoming bad. For example, progesterone aromatizing and becoming a bad estrogen, or becoming cortisol, and testosterone flipping over and becoming a harmful estrogen.
So olive leaf extract, and then how many of those do you take a day?
Well, it's not a tonic herb, so I'm off of it for a while, then I do it again for a while, and then I go off of it. But I always do olive oil, because olive oil is a tonic. It's a food. You can do it every day. And I did my favorite olive oil is the Rallis olive oil, which is of some friends of mine from Greece. It's ice pressed olive oil. It's a superior product. And when I have that kind of olive oil, like old world style olive oil, like Persian olive oil original, you better believe I'm drinking that stuff all day long. I mean, I can live on that kind of food.
You're drinking the actual olive oil?
Olive oil. Well, I mean, I'm saying that kind of jokingly, but kind of not.
Got it.
I will actually consume it old world style, like all day long, as my main source of calories and food throughout the day, because it's that good.
Yeah. So can we kind of scan a day in the life of David Wolfe as far as the things you take, vitamins and minerals and superfoods and things like that? Can you just kind of give us a cross section of that?
Sure, I'll take you through some of the usual suspects. In fact, I can show you. Do you want me to just grab it and I'll show you?
Sure.
Because I have it all sitting right here.
Sure.
That might be nice, huh? Okay, hang on one second.
Absolutely.
Okay, I just grabbed some of my usual suspects.
Good.
And I didn't want to keep you guys waiting too long. Okay, well, we have the enzymes. Whoops. The enzymes are here, so I showed you that already.
Yes, digestible, yeah.
And those are just digestive enzymes, but they're way more. These kind of enzymes they do more than just help you with digestion. For example, they can accelerate healing by 2 or 3 times. I broke my foot in August 2011. I found out that enzymes were the best thing to keep the inflammation down. It was really a shocker. And that's actually what caused me to get right back into enzymes hardcore, is because I saw how powerful it was on my foot. Then I've got over here, well, that's my Mega Hydrate right there. That's my friend Dr. Patrick Flanagan's antioxidant product. Again, very important to have very strong antioxidants so you don't get burned by the sun and you don't get damaged by breathing our oxygen-rich atmosphere, which is good for you and bad for you. And then I've got one of my favorite herbs in the world. We didn't really get into the whole immunological thing very deeply, but this is Ho Shu Wu, or He Shu Wu, and it's one of the great Chinese herbs. It's a longevity herb, but it's really bone marrow food. And so it's really delicious. It tastes good. You just eat it and drink it because it tastes good. But this is something you make a tea out of, and it's just wonderful. And I do that as much as possible, usually every day. This is the hops X factor. I'm going to wait till this comes in. This, to me, this is the most powerful thing I've ever taken. It's my favorite thing of all time. And I'm going to show you the color of it. It's xanthohumol. This is considered even more powerful than resveratrol. You can see the color of it there.
Yeah.
You can see the gold. And it's an extract of the hops plant. It's an extract of hops pollen. No alcohol in it. And it tastes good. And you can drink it. You can just eat it.
Okay.
And then one last thing I'm going to show you is this is my algae oil. So I'm going to see if I can get a little. See that right there?
Yes.
I don't do fish or fish oil because I'm very concerned about fish, and I'm also very concerned about what's going on in our oceans. And so we go right to the source of where the fish oil comes from, which is algae or marine phytoplankton. So I take marine phytoplankton fish oil. There's no fish in it, but it has the same oils as the fish have.
Now that is exciting.
Right?
That right there is exciting.
Really exciting. And this type of thing is the product of Jacques Cousteau. Jacques Cousteau got a whole bunch of people 60, 70 years ago excited about looking into marine phytoplankton for the nutrients, for the clean foods of the future. And these can be grown now in controlled environments, so it's not coming from the ocean. It's grown in a controlled environment, and that way it can be toxin-free. We can get our EPA and DHA, long-chain omega-3 fatty acid, for our brain and nervous system in a completely clean environment, completely clean way, and not have to worry about what's happening with fish and the other problems in our oceans. And that to me is just brilliant research. I've met some of those researchers, been in their laboratories, and I am impressed.
Fantastic. This is good. I mean, just by how passionate you are about it when talking about it, and how much joy and enthusiasm is literally emanating from you. That right there makes me as a human being want to take a look at my life and the choices that I'm making on a much deeper, bigger level. So thank you so much for being such a great example. Are all the products you just shared with us available on Longevity Warehouse?
Yes, that's the best source, I think, of everything that I've shared with you, actually. And that's not my website, but it's run by my dearest friends and my best friends in the world. And I'm really happy with what they created, and it's just a beautiful family-run enterprise.
Fantastic. Very good. I've really had such a great time. I've just received such incredible insight and education. And of course, it's been wonderful to get to know you. And the whole Persian thing just amazes me. I had no idea. So shall we do a li-li-li-li-li-li together?
Or snap our fingers like this.
Oh, yes, that one. I was going to say, you know how to do that?
Yeah.
I don't know how Persians know that. I think it's just a womb, like if you're in a Persian mother's womb, you're not lily, li.
Just snap their fingers.
That's very
good. Great. Super great. And it's been a great pleasure to speak to your group. And thank you for having me on, and look forward to doing this again anytime that you want to, and some more interesting and fun stuff.
Of course. Thank you so much, David. David Wolfe and Longevity Now. Make good choices. You deserve it. Thanks, everyone. Bye, David.
Thank you.